Hello, it's another month, a new calendar year, and another chance to learn from our mistakes. Hey everybody, it's January of 2022, believe it or not. We just had winter break, and here we are back for one last week to finish up our second quarter here at the middle school level. If you follow what I do, you know that each month I try and chronicle one teaching mistake and a mindful approach on how to respond. As I'm winding down this 9-week quarter with 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, I realize that there are still things happening that I thought might change since the start of this school year, but they haven't. They're still going on. Namely, students have been increasingly quiet, just dead silent. And I brought that up throughout our months of the last few school years, in fact. You would think that teaching teenagers, things would be kind of out of control. You know, there's that stereotype of a really boisterous classroom or excited teens to talk to each other, nonstop talking, or even off-task behavior. But in reality, that's not always the case. And especially now as we're masked, dealing with the COVID pandemic, I've noticed that students are increasingly quiet. Now, I love a loud classroom. I can use that energy. A loud environment is oftentimes a learning environment. But that's just not the reality. Students have been out of school or they've been remote learning, a lot of times just kind of isolating or quarantining, being away from people in person. That's what's happening throughout the country and throughout the world. So that's changing our social interactions quite a bit. And I'm not saying anything new. Everybody out there already knows this, that our preteens and our teenagers are learning how to socialize, how to communicate that's not through a screen. And it seems like that would be a no-brainer. Well, you just talk and you listen, right? But that's just not the case. As I cope with that as the teacher, as I push back and fight against this dead silence that sometimes happens in the classroom, I find myself, for lack of a better term, giving up. And that's a horrible feeling as an educator, and that's a judgmental feeling. Sometimes I throw my hands in the air and I say, well, I tried. Of course, the opposite of that is at least I did try. I've been called a try-hard sometimes by students, but I'd rather try hard than not try at all. Now, the real reason I bring this up is because later down the line, weeks, months, maybe even years later, students will come back and visit. They'll give me feedback in person. They'll write notes or even emails. And I realized that they took some impact. They took away some meaning from our lessons, whether it was content or life skills. They were listening. They were paying attention. They were, in fact, engaged. They just didn't know how to express it in the moment. Not everything is going to have that wow factor, that immediate response, that aha moment that sometimes we do see with students. Circling back, the kids will say they appreciated everything that went on. They just weren't sure how to act in the moment. And that's fair. That finally brings me to my mindful tip for any educators this month, and that is to realize and remind yourself that impact isn't always immediate. What I mean by that is, of course, students might not fully appreciate the lessons in the classroom until much later in life, but also in the moment, students hide emotions. They're guarded. There's a social image to uphold. And just like adults, there's so much to balance and juggle. There's not just one class going on. There's multiple classes within school, not to mention home life, and of course the pandemic. Acknowledging all of that is a mindful approach to teaching, realizing that impact isn't always immediate. It helped me this month, and I encourage any educators out there to try it out in their own life and in their own teaching. See how it goes and see if it helps you to manage any dead silence or anything else that's going on within your classroom. Impact isn't immediate. As always, I'll link a related resource right here in the YouTube description that you can check out right after watching. Okay, that's it for this month. Thanks as always for tuning in to my ramblings on teaching mistakes and mindful responses. I'll be back in February. Until then, make sure you check out our podcast that we do with our 8th graders. We're going to continue this school year. This is season 4 of our podcast, and we're trying out a brand new system, kind of a new style of reflection videos. It's a matchup series that we're doing with students in the classroom, so you can check that out. Hopefully we continue to create well into 2022. I hope everyone is happy and healthy out there, and if not, I hope you're on your way. Until next time, thanks for tuning in.